What's going on, Wellness Warriors? And welcome back to another episode of Reach Home Recovery. Tonight, it's a bold statement. Why you should never go back to the narcissist. And I went right for it. Bold, straightforward. These are the signs you need to look for. Because truthfully, you've already seen the signs. You've already felt the signs internally. And you felt the signs physically and emotionally. So, there's no signs you need to look out for. There's not a 5-step process. Because myself, I'm not going to give the narcissist 5 more chances to abuse me. I'm not going to give the narcissist 5 more chances to take advantage of me. It's 1. Why you should never go back. Now, I sensed it out there. Some of y'all empathy just flared up real quick. And you're saying that's kind of harsh. There's some sayings out there that, sometimes absence, it makes the heart grow fonder. Or sometimes it's the right person, but just not at the right time. And you know what? Those statements are true. I'm not going to knock them. But they're true for regular people. So I want to ask you right now to kind of ask yourself, why are you sitting here watching narcissistic content to give you information on narcissism? Why are you reading blogs and getting more information? It's because you've dealt with it on a personal level. So you have to reach out to get this information to get some clarity and try to maintain some of the sanity that you lost dealing with these type of people. Now, if you're going through that, they are not a normal person. And those normal sayings, which may work, is not going to apply to them. What happens is that when you take a narcissist back, they continue to abuse you. And they abuse you worse than the first go-round. The narcissist actually looks at it as, this person, they look at it, they don't look at third person. They look at it as, I'm so great. I did X, Y, and Z to this person, and they still came back. So guess what that does? That upgrades you to the premium abuse package. Oh yeah. If they got you, hurt you, and then there was a discard either by yourself or by the narcissist, and they get you to come back, now they're going to pull out all the stops. And the second time around, it's going to be way worse than the first. But there's still some resistance out there. I can tell some of you still holding on hope for the narcissist to change. Thinking to yourself, there's still a slight glimmer, a little bit of light at the end of that tunnel. And you know what? I can't knock that either. There is one way a narc can change. And that's only through God above. They get right with him, they could start moving in the right path. But I don't want you to be naive. If that narcissist walks up to you and they've had a divine epiphany of how wrong they've treated you and how they're going to turn it around, do not take their word for it. Me, myself, I'm going to need to have a vision. I'm going to need to see some dreams. I'm going to need to hear from the pastor during one of the services. I'm going to need the pastor to pull me aside, give their full government name and last 4 of their social security number. And then as I'm thinking about it and I lay my head to go to sleep, I'm going to need God to take me for a while. And as I'm at the pearly gates, I'm going to need him to tell me, all right, it's good to go. You can reinitiate in that this time actual relationship. I don't see that happening. So you're out there thinking to yourself, well, how does this guy know? Well, as I said in the previous video, I learned through the school of hard knocks. So with my narc, over a decade, married twice, divorced twice. And the second time around was worse than the first. So let me give you a little bit of background on how I got to that situation. So after the first discard, the narc initiated it. It was sudden, without reason, no closure. So there was a bit of brokenness on my end. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything about narcissism. So that naivety towards what I went through continued through that span of the breakup. But what also happened during that span of the breakup was exponential growth on my end. Exponential. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, just exponential growth. And what happened? The Hoover happened, which at the time I didn't know it was a Hoover. I saw it as a sign of, okay, I've learned my lesson. And one of those sayings that we said before, whether it be it was the right person at the wrong time, was running through my head. So I'm like, okay, now is the right time to reinitiate. So went through everything all over again. Love bomb phase, marriage. But less than a year into the marriage, the abuse happened at an escalated fashion. It got to a point where it was worse the second time around. And then one thing I didn't notice on the first part was that the narcissist was bold. Had something down and dirty happen. Don't need to go into the details. We had the conversation about it. And of course, when you have the conversation, it's not really a conversation. It's a back, forward, sideways spiral towards nothingness. But at the end of it, the narc looked me in my eyes and said, "You ain't going nowhere." But they ain't know about me. Because something in me woke up, got myself to a therapist, then eventually stumbled upon this information about narcissism. Then once that all started to fall into place, it was like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with now. And it was out of there. So I learned my lesson the hard way. And hopefully I can teach a couple of you out there as well. Okay, I'm starting to get to you. So a lot of that stuff was making sense before, but it was all personal experience. It could be taken as opinion. So, if you watch this channel for a little bit, you know where we're heading next. Let's jump into that good book. And here, we're going to jump into Matthew, chapters 12, and we're going to read 43 through 45. So I'll go through reading first, and then we'll break it down. Just to give you a preface, this is Jesus speaking about an adulterous generation. Sound familiar? So let's jump into it, and starting at 43. When an unclean spirit goes out of man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. Then he says, I will return to my house from which I came, and when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and put in order. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. So the last state of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation. Let's break that down. So that unclean spirit coming from a man, and remember, man and woman is interchangeable. That's that narcissist departing from your life. It then goes through dry places, seeking rest, and finds none. So after a narc departs a premium supply like you, they look for you and other people. They get supply here and there, but nothing gives them quite the fix that you gave them. That supply, that premium supply that we're getting from you is dried up. So look what the narc does next. Then the unclean spirit says, I will return to my house from which I came. Then the narc comes to an epiphany, I'm going to just go back to so-and-so that I abused and discarded to get that supply. It doesn't have anything to do with love. It's just going back to a familiar place so they can feed. Then he goes, and this is where the abuse gets worse. Takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. They dwell there. Then the state of that person is worse than it was from the beginning. I need you to really grasp that. I really need you to really grasp how much of a detrimental effect that has on your health, emotional, psychological, spiritual. You're not only under attack from that narcissist and all other demonic spirits under your same roof. It's like when you go back the second time, if you go back or you take them back, it's like you open a demonic doorway. And it says the state of you is going to be worse than you were the first time. I don't know how clearer to explain it. That's why never in that thumbnail is bright red and neon. Don't do it. Myself, I got lucky. I could have been far worse off. What helped me was that I picked up on the triangulation before I even knew it was triangulation. I picked up that there was a secondary supply, and the therapist actually put me on some information as to what I was going through. It wasn't normal. So when I got that information from the therapist, and then I got the information about narcissism, I was able to initiate the final discard and get out. But had it been left up to the narcissist, oh baby, they would have used me and abused me in ways I wouldn't even imagine. Played me and then left me. And I wouldn't even have the fortitude or the energy to be standing here making these videos. I'm going to cut this one tonight because there's nothing else that needs to be said. Go back, read Matthew 12:43 through 45. It's so important. It's repeated again in Luke. Y'all get this word, man. Y'all understand if you're actually going through this, it's going to take some deep spiritual healing on both of your ends. But if the narcissist is not committed to it, and the discard has already happened, then keep your distance, maintain your no contact. Well, again, I thank y'all for allowing me to fellowship with you. I love you. And until next time, peace.